Part 44. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 431. Chapter 431 The Undercover arranged by Xiao Mian. Well, let's move on to the fan question period. The host covered up the embarrassment on his face and could only pretend that nothing had happened. He showed a standard professional smile and said softly, reassuring. Fans can ask her any questions, and Angzhen will personally select a fan to answer your questions. Of course, fans, try not to ask questions that you shouldn't ask, otherwise Angzhen will not be able to answer you. In order to avoid the recurrence of the situation just now, the host specially added this sentence. After finishing speaking, she smiled and said to Xiao Angzhen, in a moment you can pick one of the fans who left a message and answer a question for this fan. Are you ready? When you are ready, we can start. Xiao Angzhen was upset by the messages just now and had no intention of continuing the live broadcast. But the live broadcast wasn't over yet, and she couldn't just leave. No matter how reluctant she is, she still has to go on. She took a deep breath, raised her head, pretended to be nonchalant, squeezed out a slightly stiff smile from the corners of her lips, tightened her fists hanging by her sides, and nodded, yes, I'm ready. Okay. The host picked up the phone and looked at the comments. When he saw that there were still many messages scolding Xiao Angzhen in the comment area, the smile at the corner of his mouth froze, and he slowly handed the phone to Xiao Angzhen. Let's pick a fan to answer his question. Xiao Angzhen took the phone and clicked on the comment area. When she saw messages such as Black Heart Lotus Xiao Angzhen, get out of the entertainment industry, ban Xiao Angzhen on the entire network, Xiao Angzhen is shameless and becomes a mistress to steal her sister's man, etc., she burst into anger. On top of his head, his face looked a bit green. She lowered her eyes and bit her lips, trying her best to calm down the anger in her heart. Then in a circle of comments, I picked a netizen called Nan's Little Sweet Wife. This netizen's nickname shows that he is her fan at first glance. Don't worry about anything going wrong. After Xiao Angzhen made the selection, she handed the phone to the host. The host took it over and took a look at it, then said with a smile, the one Nan chose was a fan called the Little Wife of Nan's family. Is this fan still there? You are qualified to ask Nan a question. Please leave a message with the questions you want to ask. Because he is the selected fan, the host will display the fan's comments on the big screen. A few seconds passed. Everyone watching the live broadcast saw that the netizen's question was displayed on the big screen. The little wife of Nan's family, Sister Nan, are the reports online about you being a mistress, robbing your own sister's man, and spreading rumors to frame your sister, and stealing the resources of many artists from the same company, true. Although I have been a fan of you for many years, if you really did these things, I would choose to stop being a fan. Xiao Angzhen thought that if she chose a fan of hers to ask the question, something as embarrassing as before would not happen again. Who knew, when she saw the questions on the screen, she was so angry that blood stuck in her throat, and she almost vomited blood on the spot. She had serious doubts. This fan called Nan's Little Wife is definitely a fake fan. Perhaps this is an undercover agent arranged by Xiao Mian. The host was stunned for a moment when he saw the question on the screen, and then became speechless. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 432. Chapter 432 I was so angry that my nose and mouth were crooked. They all turned off the barrage, but it still couldn't prevent such an embarrassing thing from happening again. Having experienced 2 embarrassments in a short period of time, no matter how good the host's ability to control the scene is, he can't hold it anymore. The host had an embarrassed smile on his face and immediately deleted the fan's comment. I just said, don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask. This fanboy obviously violated the rules, therefore, Angzhen will not answer your question then, Angzhen will. The host wants to ask Xiao Angzhen to choose another fan. Xiao Angzhen couldn't bear it anymore. Under the surprised eyes of the on-site staff, she stood up suddenly. That's the end of today's live interview. Sorry, I suddenly have something urgent and need to deal with it immediately. After saying that, she turned around and left the live broadcast room regardless of what others would think. The host and staff were left standing there with stunned expressions on their faces. Asterisk. Out of the live broadcast room, Xiao Angzhen grabbed her assistant and asked with a cold face, "Is there another news about me on Weibo? What's going on?" The assistant has seen the news a long time ago. It's just that Xiao Angzhen was recording a program just now, so it was not convenient for her to go over and talk. At this moment, he faced Xiao Angzhen's fierce face, and he was so frightened that he immediately replied, "And, Sister Angzhen, someone just posted a post on Weibo about you. That post is now shared by many entertainment news official blogs and Big V forwarded it. Just now, Sister Amy told you to go back to the company immediately after the live broadcast. By the way, I saw a lot of reporters waiting outside the TV station. You must not go out through the main entrance." Xiao Angzhen's face darkened, and she immediately took out her mobile phone and logged into Weibo. As soon as I logged in, I saw the post mentioned by the assistant. The title of the post is very eye-catching, shocking. The popular little flower Xiao Angzhen turned out to be a mistress, and her current boyfriend was once her sister's fiancé. Not only did Xiao Sanqiao win people's love, but she also posted rumors to smear her sister. Not only did she steal her man, she also wanted to discredit her. When Xiao Angzhen saw this title, his nose and mouth were so angry that his nose and mouth were crooked. I clicked on it again and read the content of the post, and almost dropped my phone on the ground. The assistant next to her looked at the ferocious expression on her face and was so frightened that she didn't even dare to breathe. Xiao Angzhen usually has a bad temper, and he takes it out on her at every turn. Now that I am angry, it is even more terrible. The assistant quietly shrank himself into a quiet corner, trying to reduce his sense of presence and not daring to say another word. But she was still noticed by Xiao Angzhen. Xiao Angzhen turned her head and looked at the timid assistant, and she was even more angry. She looked at the girl who had a similar look to Xiao Mian, and her anger suddenly came to her head. She walked over, raised her hand and slapped the girl the face. She gritted her teeth and said harshly, "Did I hire you to make soy sauce? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" The assistant received the slap for no apparent reason, and her face suddenly swelled up. An even more frightened expression appeared on her face. She covered the half of her face that was hit and said with red eyes, "I'm sorry, Sister Anan. You were recording a program at the time, and I'm afraid it will affect you." Of course Xiao Angzhen knew that the assistant was innocent. But looking at this face that looked a bit like Xiao Mian, she felt angry. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 433. Chapter 433. You are just like that bitch, good at pretending. The more timid and pitiful the little assistant acted, the more she wanted to teach her a lesson. That little Xiao Mian is used to pretending to be pitiful to win the pity of men. Afraid it will affect me, Xiao Angzhen walked up to the assistant with a sullen face, looked at the assistant's fair and delicate face, stretched out her long nails and pinched the assistant's face hard, as if to vent her anger. "General," said fiercely, "are you eager for my downfall? Don't think that I don't know that you are secretly enjoying yourself." The nails dug into the flesh, scratching a red mark on the little assistant's face. "Sister Anan, I don't dare." The assistant didn't dare to fight back. Tears fell from the pain, because she was too scared and her whole body was shaking. "You don't dare, I think you are very brave. You're just like that bitch, you're always good at pretending. There's no man here, so who do you pretend to be weak and innocent for? Do you think a man will come out to take pity on you and comfort you? You're crying in a place like this. Yes, do you really want to tell others that I bullied you? Sister Inan, I really don't. The assistant shook his head vigorously, tears falling even more fiercely. I was frightened by Jiao Angzan. Jiao Angzan thought of Jiao Mian when he saw her, and became increasingly angry. He reached out to her face and wanted to pinch her again. At this time, a staff member came out. Seeing this scene, I was stunned on the spot. Jiao Angzan was stunned for a moment when she noticed the staff, but soon her expression changed. The hand that stretched out to pinch the assistant turned into wiping the assistant's tears. She changed from the ferocious and terrifying look before, and turned into a close sister in the blink of an eye. She said gently, Xiaoke, don't cry anymore. If you encounter any difficulties, just tell Sister Anan and I will help you solve it. You have been with me for so many years, and I have always treated you as my sister. Don't feel embarrassed. The assistant froze for a moment. When she also noticed that a TV station staff member was watching them, she reached out and wiped the tears from her eyes, bit her lip and cooperated with Jiao Angzan and said, "Thank you, Sister Angzan, it's not a big deal, I can handle it myself, okay." Jiao Mian smiled and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes. "That's good. If you can't solve it yourself, you must tell me." "Well, I will." The staff looked at the scene and scratched their heads, with a trace of doubt in their eyes. Just now, was he mistaken? Jiao Angzan is not bullying her assistant, but comforting her assistant? Asterisk. Jiao Angzan left through a very safe passage under the arrangement of the staff. She took a nanny car to Xinggui. At the gate of Xinggui, many reporters were already waiting. The company arranged for bodyguards to pick up people downstairs. As soon as Jiao Angzan's car stopped, the bodyguards went over to protect her. The reporters saw her getting out of the car and rushed over immediately. Some were holding recorders, some were holding microphones, and some were carrying cameras. If it weren't for the bodyguards who protected Jiao Angzan, she would have been surrounded by this group of reporters. Dozens of reporters tried to break through the protection of the bodyguards. "Jiao Angzan, can you respond to the revelations about you online? Did you really work as a mistress? Is Suzi's ex-girlfriend really your biological sister? Jiao Angzan, I heard that Suzi and your sister were engaged, and they almost got married." End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 434. Chapter 434. Don't you believe me? He and your sister just broke up, and then he got together with you. Does this mean that you really intervened between them? Are you stealing your sister's man because you are jealous of her? Because your mother married into the Jiao family as a second wife, you are jealous that your sister was born to her first wife, and you are even more jealous that she has a fiancé as good as Suzi. So, have you come up with the idea of fighting for love? The questions from this group of reporters became more acute than the last. In order to interview the most breaking news, they didn't care about what Jiao Angzan thought. "Jiao Angzan, according to an insider, because your sister is very beautiful and is also a student at the Film and Television Academy, you were afraid that she would become popular with you after she debuted, so you interfered with her audition many times and made her fail. This matter, is that true?" Jiao Angzan. Jiao Angzan. More than a dozen bodyguards formed a wall of flesh to block reporters who tried to rush over. He escorted Jiao Angzan into the Star Hall with hurried steps. From beginning to end, Jiao Angzan kept her head buried and said nothing. After entering the lobby, she quickly walked into the elevator. The moment the elevator door closed, she slowly raised her head, her eyes filled with haze. Asterisk. Mr. Su, Miss Jiao is back. Zhao Kai knocked on the office door, glanced at the man sitting in front of the black desk, and whispered. As soon as he finished speaking, Jiao Angzhen walked in from outside wearing a white dress. Zhao Kai saw this, called Miss Jiao, turned around and left. After going out, closed the door gently. Brother A's. On the way back, Jiao Angzhen had already understood the ins and outs of the matter. Naturally, we have already thought of countermeasures. She knew very well that Suzy still had feelings for Jiao Mian. If Suzy knew that it was really her who posted the post on the campus forum, Suzy would definitely have a problem with her. She had always been gentle, well-behaved, kind, and sensible in front of Suzy. What Suzy likes is the side of her. If she becomes a vicious jealous woman in Suzy's heart, it will definitely affect Suzy's feelings for her. Hence, she could never admit the incident of posting a blackmail against Jiao Mian. Hearing this weak and dependent cry, Suzy no longer looked at her with pity and tenderness like before. At this time, the way he looked at Jiao Angzhen made Jiao Angzhen feel uneasy. Because Suzy's eyes were very cold. Still the indifference that had never been shown in front of her. Jiao Angzhen immediately thought that Suzy must be because of that post. She hurriedly explained, Brother A's, the news on the internet is not true. It was not me who posted on the campus forum to discredit my sister. I know it must be difficult for you to believe me now, but I am really wronged. I can explain it to you. As she spoke, tears flowed out. Brother A's, I can really explain it to you. Why do you look at me like this? Don't you believe me? In the past, whenever Jiao Angzhen showed this soft and weak look in front of Suzy, Suzy would gently comfort her and coax her. But this time, Suzy didn't do that again. He looked indifferent. The eyes are still cold. When he saw Jiao Angzhen crying, he became furious when he thought that these were all her disguises and that this woman was deceiving him again. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 435. Chapter 435. She feels very insecure. Once, he felt that Jiao Angzhen was very delicate and in need of love. He will want to protect her. But now, he was only filled with disgust and anger. Suzy felt hatred in his heart when he thought that he was being fooled around by such a woman, and even broke up with the woman he loved because of her. This bitch even tried to deceive him. This time, he won't be fooled again. Jiao Angzhen clearly saw the cold and heavy hatred in Suzy's eyes. She felt a thump in her heart and felt her heart beating with fear. She couldn't help but said in a panic, Brother A's, that IP address is indeed real. It's ours. Post from someone from the Jiao family. But, the person who posted it is really not me. It's Mom. At the critical moment, Jiao Angzhen even plotted against her own mother, blaming all the crimes on Lin Huijin. The person who posted the message is my mother. She has always disliked my sister. After we got together, she was always worried that you would get back together with her sister. That's why she posted that. She thought that when her reputation became bad, you would not get back together with her again. I just called her and scolded her, and she knew she was wrong and said she would never do it again. Brother A's, I know this incident has caused some harm to my sister. If she is still angry, I can go and apologize to her. Suzy today makes Jiao Angzhen a little scared. Suddenly, she felt very insecure. She had a vague feeling that Suzy had some evidence, so she quickly acknowledged the IP address. To show her sincerity. Apologize, Suzy looked at her coldly for a while and finally spoke. It's just that his voice and eyes are the same, very cold. Yes, seeing that Suzy was finally willing to pay attention to her, Jiao Angzhen breathed a sigh of relief, used the methods she used before, and whispered in an innocent and tender tone, although my mother did this, but she is doing it for me after all, and I have an unshirkable responsibility. If this incident affects my sister, I will feel very sorry. I know my sister must be very angry. It's understandable that she would ask someone to find out her IP address. But Qiao Angzhen bit her lip lightly and said with a bit of grievance in her eyes, "Sister shouldn't ask someone to say that. Us. She said that I was a mistress and interfered in the relationship between you and him. Doesn't this mean that you are a scumbag in a roundabout way? Brother A's, please come forward and clarify it quickly, otherwise, netizens will curse you to death." Qiao Angzhen first admitted her mistake and lowered her attitude. Then, he complained to Qiao Mian aggrievedly. She knew that Suzy would definitely come forward to resolve the matter. After all, this also involves Suzy's reputation. He is a very face-conscious person, and there is no way he would just let Qiao Mian accuse him of cheating. After Qiao Angzhen finished speaking, she wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes aggrievedly, waiting for Suzy to soften his attitude and come to coax her. She waited for a few seconds, but didn't hear any movement. He couldn't help but raise his head curiously. When he met Suzy's dark eyes that were so cold that they were about to freeze, his heart jumped twice, and the uneasiness and anxiety he felt just now came back to his heart. Brother Aziz. Suzy is feeling very strange today. Normally, he would have been coaxing her with all kinds of tenderness, holding her in his arms and comforting her softly. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 436. Chapter 436. Then why did you seduce me in the first place? Today, he has been indifferent. She felt strong uneasiness. Brother A's, what's wrong with you? Are you still doubting that I did that thing? I really didn't. My sister is a very important person to me. How could I? What did he do to her? In the past, all Qiao Angzhen had to do was put on this aggrieved and pitiful look and shed a few tears, and Suzy easily believed her. Because in his heart, Qiao Angzhen is a very gentle, weak, kind, and weak woman who needs protection. He is her only support. She will not lie to anyone she lies to. Suzy has been confident like this for many years. But in the end, it turned out that he had been a fool for so many years. Once there is a gap in the trust in your heart, you will start to doubt other things. Qiao Angzhen could lie to him about her pregnancy, and he could also lie to her about other things. Perhaps she is not as weak as he thought. What she showed in front of him was not her true self. Mian is really important to you, Suzy spoke in a cold voice. Yes, Qiao Angzhen said immediately, I am just a sister, so of course it is very important. Suzy looked directly into her eyes. Then why did you seduce me in the first place? What? Qiao Angzhen was stunned for a moment. Suzy narrowed his eyes. If you hadn't been so proactive and seduced me repeatedly, I wouldn't have considered being with you at all. You said Mian is very important to you, but you secretly seduced her fiancé. Aren't you afraid that she will be sad if she finds out about this? She will sever ties with you. After Suzy knew that he had been cheated, his IQ began to gradually rise. He thought about the various experiences of his acquaintance with Qiao Angzhen, and the more he thought about it, the more he felt that he had been plotted against him. The first time he and Qiao Angzhen went to bed was one night when he was drunk. Qiao Angzhen sent him home and took care of him all night. When he opened his eyes the next day, he saw Qiao Angzhen lying naked next to him. That night he was so drunk that he stopped drinking and could not recall many things. When I saw that scene, I felt that he had after drinking and slept with his future sister-in-law. Still feeling full of guilt. Later, Qiao Angzhen said very sensibly that she had drunk too much that night. Everything that happened was consensual. She didn't want to hurt Xiao Mian, so she let him treat it as a dream and there was no need to treat her. Bear any responsibility. The more gentle and sensible Xiao Angzan behaves, the guiltier he feels. Always trying to make it up to her. Gradually, the two of them had more personal contacts. Later on, some things gradually became out of control. Suzy now has serious doubts. Did he and Xiao Angzan really have on the first night? He was so drunk that night that he didn't even have the strength to walk. How could he still have the strength to do such a thing? His questions made Xiao Angzan a little dumbfounded. She was stunned for a few seconds, and suddenly realized that Suzy was doubting her. Xiao Angzan was really panicked. She didn't expect that Suzy would no longer trust her because of such a small thing. Actually began to doubt her. Panic flashed in her eyes, and she hurriedly stepped forward, stretching out a hand to grab Suzy's hand. "Brother Atse, I can't help it because I love you so much. You know how much I care about you." Of. She stretched out her hand, but found nothing. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 437. Chapter 437. You are so brave, you dare to lie to me. Suzy retracted his hand, his eyes full of ridicule and anger. He slammed a cup on the desk to the ground, stood up, looked at Xiao Angzan with eyes full of gloom and anger, gritted his teeth, and said word by word, "What you care about is just to lie to me about a fake pregnancy." What a lie. Xiao Angzan didn't react at first and was still defending. After a few seconds, her face suddenly changed and her eyes widened in shock. "Brother Ace, you." Her mind went blank because she was too surprised. For a moment, I was speechless. Suzy's relationship with her was originally established in bed, and most of the time it took a lot of effort. The reason why he broke up with Xiao Mian to be with her and decided to marry her was because of the child in her belly. Now, the child is gone. The anger of being deceived made him have no other feelings for Xiao Angzan except disgust and hatred. His face was covered with frost. He took a step forward, stretched out his hands and pinched Xiao Angzan's neck. His face was livid and he said, "You are so brave, you dare to lie to me. Xiao Angzan, do you know the consequences of lying to me?" I think he thinks he is a very shrewd person. But he was fooled around by the women around him. This is intolerable. Cough, 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 brother Ace, let go, let go. Xiao Angzan was pinched by the neck and couldn't breathe. Her face turned red and she coughed violently. She stretched out a hand, trying to pry Suzy's hand away. Her resistance angered Suzy even more. Suzy tightened his grip on his hand and said, "Bitch, if it weren't for you, Mian and I wouldn't have broken up. Ahem, let go, let me go." Xiao Angzan's eyes opened wider and wider, and she was already rolling her eyes. She struggled desperately, screamed in fear, and kicked Suzy hard with her feet. During the struggle, Suzy kicked Suzy's crotch with his knee. Suzy's face turned pale, and he pushed her away with severe pain. After a crackling sound, Xiao Angzan bumped into the coffee table next to her and fell hard to the ground. The moment she fell to the ground, her belly hit the ground first. Then I felt a tearing pain. A bang sound. The employees outside heard the noise coming from the office, opened the door and rushed in. After entering the office, the employees were stunned when they saw Xiao Angzan lying on the ground and Suzy with a pale face and covering his crotch. It took several seconds for him to react and immediately walk towards Suzy. "Su, Mr. Su, are you okay? Oh my god. Mr. Su, is this a fight with Miss Xiao?" Moreover, judging from the situation at the scene, the fighting was quite intense. This came as a shock to employees. Because everyone in Xinggui knows that Suzy and Xiao Angzan have a very good relationship, and they also dote on Xiao Angzan. Let alone fights, I am usually reluctant to even say a harsh word. Suzy didn't want his embarrassing side to be seen by the employees. He immediately became angry and yelled at the employees who were walking towards him, "Who let you in? Get out." Employees were shocked. When he saw Suzy's eyes that looked like he was trying to eat someone, he immediately turned around and walked out. Just 2 steps away, the employee suddenly opened his eyes in shock. His gaze fell on Jiao Angzhen lying on the ground, and he trembled in fear. "Jiao, Miss Jiao, what's wrong with you?" Suzy could tell something was wrong in his tone, and turned his head slowly while enduring the pain and anger. In an instant, his expression suddenly changed. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 438. Chapter 438. Haven't you figured out a solution yet? I saw Xiao Angzhen's body curled up into a ball, with a look of pain on her face, one hand covering her stomach, and the snow-white skirt on her body was stained with blood. She raised her head, looked at Suzy with tears in her eyes, and shouted in pain, "Brother Ace, I hurt so much, my stomach hurts so much." More and more blood was pouring out from under her body. That dazzling red is shocking to look at. Suzy was stunned for a few seconds, not knowing what he thought of, and his face became gloomy again. "Xiao Angzhen, do you think I will still believe you after this?" Suzy's eyes were full of disgust. "You are really stubborn. At this time, you still want to act in front of me." Cold sweat broke out on Xiao Angzhen's forehead, and her face was as pale as paper. She stretched out her hand and tried to grab Suzy's trouser legs. She said in a trembling voice, "Brother Ace, I didn't lie to you. My stomach really feels, it hurts." The employee saw the blood under her body and the face that was so pale that there was almost no blood. He hesitated and said in a low voice, "Su, Mr. Su, I think Miss Jiao seems to be really uncomfortable. Brother Ace, save me." The pain was so extreme that Jiao Angzhen's voice became weaker and weaker. After saying this, she tilted her head and fainted from the pain. Asterisk. Jiao Mian originally thought that Xingui would quickly dispatch a public relations team to help Jiao Angzhen clear her name. Xingui public relations was very quick in what happened last time. In just half a day, Xiao Angzhen was transformed from a low-quality female artist who beat people in public to a helpless victim. If Xingui wants to clear her name, he definitely has the ability to do so. But she didn't expect that it had been several hours since the news became known to everyone, and there was no movement from Xingui's side. The studio, Xingui's official blog, and Xiao Angzhen's own work account are all as quiet as chickens. It's like they haven't watched the news at all. But this is impossible. As soon as the news came out, reporters went to Xingui to camp. And someone will definitely notify them. So, both Xingui and Xiao Angzhen must be aware of this matter. But Xingui's approach is really puzzling. Zhang Luli was astonished. "Baby, what do you think is going on with Xiao Angzhen? It's been so long and she still hasn't responded. Isn't she thinking of not responding until this matter gets heated up?" "Go slowly." Xiao Mian shook his head. "Impossible." She rationally analyzed, if she doesn't come out to clarify, she will acquiesce in this statement. This will not do her any good. What's going on? Zhang Luli's eyes were full of doubts. Didn't he come up with a solution yet? Probably. Xiao Mian clicked on Weibo and took a look. It had been almost 3 hours since the news started fermenting. Under normal circumstances, when a popular artist is exposed to scandal, the agency will come up with a plan to deal with it as soon as possible. After all, the longer time passes, the more popular the news becomes. Not only are they confused, but many netizens are also confused. Xiao Angzhen's fans left messages under her latest Weibo post. "An's baby, sister An, are the rumors in the news true? Why don't you come out and explain?" Fans of Xiao Angzan support club, Angzan, if you haven't done those things, please come out and clarify. If you keep silent, fans will think wildly. The person who broke the news about you hired trolls to criticize and comment on it, and now many passers-by who don't know the truth believe that post. If this continues, things will get worse and worse. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 439. Chapter 439. No response. Xin, yes, sister, can you see our message? Come out and clarify. I'm almost dying. Some passers-by saw these comments and left a message to the fans. It's not that your sister Anan didn't see your messages, she was just pretending to be dead. Originally I was still skeptical about this matter, but now it seems that it is 80% true. Fans immediately attacked him, hammer upon hammer. You have no evidence, why would you open your mouth and frame our family and Xin? Passers-by ridiculed, you fans like to be blind, what can I do? There is also a hammer on the hammer. Didn't they take out the real hammer? I didn't have eyes to see it. Fan replied, is it the picture from P? That's a real deal. A passerby laughed, there are professionals who have come out to analyze that it is not a picture of P. You fans are still making excuses for the picture of P. You fools, just keep deceiving yourselves and others. Don't cry if you get slapped in the face. There was an uproar on Weibo. Hashtag this topic quickly became a hot search topic, with hundreds of millions of discussions. Generally at this time, the brokerage company will spend money to remove the hot search. But Xingui's side was still as quiet as a chicken, without any reaction. Asterisk. Xiao Mian finished a class. After class, several girls ran up to her and asked her with gossip on their faces, Xiao Mian, is your sister really Xiao Angzan? Xiao Angzan is also from Yunchinj Film Academy. Because he signed a contract with a talent agency in his freshman year, acted in an online drama and became popular, and now he is a popular star on the A-list, so he is still very famous in the school. The students all know her. However, few people know that she and Xiao Mian are sisters. Other than Zhang Luli, Xiao Mian has not told anyone else. Xiao Angzan never mentioned Xiao Mian in front of others. Before Xiao Angzan moved out of school, when the two met, they didn't even say hello. Who would have thought that they, who get along like strangers, would actually be half-sisters? Xiao Mian looked at these unfamiliar faces and frowned. She was a little repulsed and disliked the fact that the gossip had come to her. But it's also not good to be black-faced directly. After a few seconds of silence, she said calmly, yeah. Several female students said wow excitedly, and then asked, is the news on the internet true? Did she really steal your boyfriend? Xiao Mian. These people don't know how to look at their faces. She looked like she was willing to answer them. Just because she didn't refuse directly, they thought she was willing to answer? She stretched out her hand and rubbed her temples, I'm sorry, please let me go. I want to go to the bathroom. But these girls obviously don't know how to read people's faces. Several people stood in front of Xiao Mian and did not move, we are all classmates, just tell us. Xiao Angzan has not responded yet. Is it because this matter is true and she does not dare to respond? Yes, if this is true, you are the victim, tell us and we will help you scold her online. Xiao Mian. Hey, what's going on with you? Just when Xiao Mian didn't know how to deal with these people next, Zhang Luli walked over and stood in front of her as a protector. Didn't you see that Mian didn't want to answer you? She didn't feel conscious at all. End of this chapter. I secretly got married to a super boss. Author, Dance Lightly. Chapter 440. Chapter 440. He actually did such a thing behind his back. If you want to know something, go check it out online. Several people had expressions of dissatisfaction on their faces. I'm here, let's go see something online. It's not some hidden secret, let's tell you what it is. That's it, all she has to do is answer yes or no, such a simple thing. John Lilly rolled his eyes at them. Sorry, my baby has no obligation to satisfy your curiosity. Please give way and stop blocking the way. Huh, don't say it if you don't want to. I used to sympathize with you, but now it seems that it's probably because of your unpleasant personality that your fiancé cheated on his sister. So, what's the use of just having a pretty face? If you have an unlovable personality, you will be kicked out by men. Come to think of it, they are all named Xiao. My sister is not only a big star now, but also has a rich and powerful boyfriend. However, my sister is not even an 18th-rate person, and she is even known to me like this. My fiancé of many years kicked me. This is such a failure as a human being. A few people felt that Jiao Mian was too arrogant. They all feel that they are a bit embarrassed about their face. Can't help but become sarcastic. John Lilly's expression changed when he heard this, and he waved his fist. If you still don't get out of the way, I won't be polite. Who said my baby failed? The man she is looking for now is 10,000 times better than that scumbag Suzy. Those of you who are making sarcastic remarks here, when your men cheat in the future, you must remember to examine yourself. See if it is because you have an unpleasant personality, or your face is not pretty enough, your are not big enough, and your is not enough. Even if my baby has an unpleasant personality, she is so beautiful that even outstanding men like her. As for you. She looked at the girls from head to toe, with disdain in her eyes. Don't you have an unpleasant personality? She's not as beautiful as my baby. Speaking of which, the chance of being kicked by a man is quite high. John Lilly has a poisonous mouth. When you start a fight with someone, you can make a thin-skinned girl cry on the spot. The faces of several girls were darkened by what she said. Just as they were about to turn back, they heard a weak choking voice behind them. Mian, I'm sorry. Yue and I both know we were wrong. Please look after us. For the sake of sharing the same dormitory for 3 years, please forgive us. Seeing Bai Xiao and Zhang Yue coming to apologize to Jiao Mian, many students who were about to walk out of the classroom stopped and turned their heads to look at them. Now, many people know that Bai Xiao and Zhang Yue have registered a small account and posted various insults and false accusations against Jiao Mian. Everyone feels disgusted by this kind of person who does one thing in person and another in front of others. In the past, Jiao Mian would be pointed out wherever she went. Now it's Bai Xiao and Zhang Yue. Many people pointed at them and said, I really can't tell. They usually seem to have very upright views, but they actually did such a thing behind their backs. It's really scary. Think about how unlucky I would be if I had a roommate like this. Fortunately, someone revealed the IP address this time. If they hadn't revealed the IP address, wouldn't Jiao Mian's reputation have been ruined by them? I heard that Jiao Mian's boyfriend came to pick her up at noon today, and Bai Xiao even ran to her boyfriend to say bad things. As a result, she was severely slapped in the face. Wow, no, Bai Xiao is so disgusting. Hearing the various discussions around him, Bai Xiao bit his lips, a trace of gloom flashed in his eyes. End of this chapter.